this.
And you know, I'm so sick and tired of the stereotype of Satanists. People automatically assume Satanists is a bunch of, disgruntled teenagers sacrificing cats or animals within the yard, and you have to worship the devil or anything. And since you obviously have a more of an understanding of Satanism than I do you mind, just refuting these so-called, quote-unquote...
It's an ideological way of living.
Yeah.
It's not a system of worship, and it is not just a system of rituals, although rituals do play into it. It is a way of viewing the world and oneself within the world. It is essentially seeing yourself as God, and therefore that your will is kind of higher than anything else in creation, and if you can impose that will on other people, so be it, regardless of whether you're harming them in the process, regardless of whether what you're doing is actually right. There's no real moral compass within it. It's whatever's good for me is good and right and should be engaged in, and whatever is not good for me is bad, and you should attempt to avoid that. Now, I'm not saying people should try to just do what's bad for them, but this is about pure selfishness. It's about doing what's good for you regardless of whether it even harms someone else or their rights. Taking selfishness to an extreme level and, looking at, almost like looking at kindness as a weakness, compassion as a weakness. It's like just, looking at self-preservation as the only thing that you should really live for. And that will get you a world where everybody is blocking everybody else from their happiness and just trying to just get all that they can and accumulate and just live purely selfishly and hedonistically. Yeah. That's not what life is about on this planet. And another aspect, so self-preservation is being the highest law regardless of whether it's in keeping with morality or not. Next to that you have moral relativism, which is there's no such thing as an objective standard of right and wrong behavior that exists in nature, and there's no such thing as cosmic moral laws. That we get to make up what's right and wrong. We get to make all that up based on our whims, our preferences, our choices, our likes and dislikes. And then hand in hand with that, it's a belief in social Darwinism. The idea that the most ruthless should ultimately rule, and there should be a ruling class because their genetics got them there, and they're better than other people because of their position in society, and that should be upheld. That system of hierarchical rulership over others should essentially be upheld. And then from there you get more radical ideology of eugenics, which is, since the ruling class's genes got them there, they should have a right to propagate those genes, and anybody that they deem unfit shouldn't be able to propagate their genes. And they not only want to do that physically, but they want to do that epigenetically, which is what I call epi-eugenics. It's propagating the kind of characteristics and traits in society that you want to see propagated by putting mind control techniques into society to get people to breed out certain characteristics and traits. Hence what we're seeing in major cities all over the world today, where women are no longer breeding with any strong men and bringing children into the world that they raise as strong men, because they're actually brainwashed to see totally weak men as attractive and breed with them, so a new class of even weaker men are created who will never stand up for their rights and stand up against tyrannical government. This is epi-eugenics, and strong men are being bred out of society as a result of epi-eugenics being put in place. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to call this in my presentation at Free Your Mind for it, epidysgenics. It's not eugenics. You want to know what we do need? We do need good breeding. We do need That would be nice if we had some of that kind of breeding going on, if we had that kind of eugenics going on. Mm-hmm. That's not the eugenics we're talking about here. We're really talking about dysgenics. The ruling class of the world, that hierarchy wants to breed people who have no characteristics of rebellion, no characteristics of strength, no characteristics of morality, wanting to do the right thing. They want to breed all those characteristics out, and you know what? They're well along their way to doing it. And this is why the mind control specifically targets women, since women ultimately have the last say over where society goes as far as gene propagation is concerned. You know, because they're making a decision about who they're going to breed with or not breed with. You know, the mind control that they have been put under, regardless of what they find as an acceptable mate and not an acceptable mate, is going to be bred down to the next generation. And all you have to do is look around at the world to understand that that kind of mind control has been going on. Hey, surprise! That the women's choices that they have made so far up to this point, that's what's led to the current human condition, folks. You know, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Just look around and there's your proof.
And you know what's a sad and most disturbing thing about Satanism, the exact definition you gave of it, is most people are Satanists. And you don't even realize they're not. They're too fucking brain dead to even think that.
Those satanic so-called values or ideologies, they run the gamut of just about everyone in society.
Yeah.
It's almost the question is almost who isn't thinking satanically in our culture, not who is. That we have an entire culture of Satanists who don't know that they're Satanists. You know, don't even know what the satanic ideology is, subscribe to it without knowing, don't care that they're Satanists, love it, love how they are, don't think there's a problem with themselves. They think it's normal, natural, and necessary to be like that. I'm going to touch upon this on my Free Your Mind 4 conference, and you know that runs the gamut through both genders, male and female.
And this is what results in all 99.9% of the childhood trauma out there. You have parents having children for own selfish reasons, societal expectations. You never hear of a parent saying, oh, I want to have a child to give sentient being or sentient life to a person or just a
Or how about I want to have a child to bring another warrior into the world who is going to fight for freedom. I want to bring a person who's a spiritual warrior into the world, who's going to be, I'm going to raise that individual to be a completely moral individual that stands against coercion, violence, and tyranny in our society. Oh, I've never heard somebody say that that's the reason they want to have a child.
They either do it based on societal expectations. Oh, my
biological clock is ticking. You hear that one. You know? No, it's just a program. I have to do it because I feel I'm programmed to do this. My genetics have programmed me to just pump out a child.
And all those satanic beliefs end up getting, right onto that child, pretty much. And then they grow up and then they have kids and the messed up cycle continues. And people think, you have these parents, these apologists. They're like, oh, I raised you. I told you right from wrong. It's not her fault that you're the way you are.
You know what? I'll just come right out and say it. These so-called parents don't love their children.
No.
If you don't care about the freedom of future generations, don't give me the absolute bullshit that you love your children, because I'm calling you a bullshit liar to your face if you're a parent out there and you're not concerned with the issues of freedom that are prevalent in our world today. The destruction of human freedom that's so prevalent in our world today. Don't try to give me the nonsense that you love your children, because I'm calling you a liar to your face.
And prevalent in the main line where I live, the yuppie area, you have these parents that display their children like trophies because they never had enough self-love for them growing up. It's basically their pawns, their trophies. And they don't even teach them anything. Oh, you're going to, go through this indoctrination camp called school, which strips you of your individuality pretty much. We're just going to feed you crap food your whole entire life. We're going to put you on a bunch of SRIs, antidepressants, and you're just, we're going to give you this religion such as Catholicism or Judaism, and just, that's just how you are. Don't question anything.
And there's another thing. All these so-called religionists,
don't even live up to the tenets at all.
I think they think God is the authority in the universe, and yet they're all statist trash and believe in the authority of man. I mean, you talk about an inherent contradiction. Why people who believe in the God of creation would actually simultaneously believe that there can be authority vested in man on earth. I mean, you want to talk about the absolute lunacy of believing in two masters, you know? And these people would make the claim you can't serve two masters when ideologically and right in their own mind and their own heart, they already serve two masters. They think they're serving the God of creation, and yet they're serving the demonic government, authority vested in man. And they would call themselves, people who believe in the God of creation and want to do its will and want to live according to that force's laws, that consciousness's laws. I mean, give me a break. You people are a joke. And all you so-called Christians, all you so-called Jews, all you so-called Muslims, you're all a joke. Yeah. But there's still countries with kings and queens. Yeah. I mean, like you say, you were planning a trip, you were going to Thailand, yeah. And if you criticize the king of Thailand, you could be just jailed, without trial.
Pretty much.
Yeah. They have a king there, folks, Oh, apparently we have a king now who could just decree whatever he wants, write it down, and it becomes law, it becomes the will of God. I mean, like, I just can't believe that people actually still think this way and accept this in as late of the hour of the time as we are in, and people still haven't woken up to this nonsense garbage. I mean, what will it take, folks? When you're being hauled away, it's going to be too late. You better get your head together now. Go and watch my natural law seminar. That's my best, recommendation that I can give you to do it quick. If you want to wake up quick, that's a good place to start. But if you want the whole story, go to my podcast, whatonearthishappening.com. Hit the podcast link. Start from number 1, and you better play catch up if you're not already familiar with the material. And there's tons of other resources there, and I've pointed out other researchers and books all over the place. It's a lifetime of learning compacted into a very short amount of time, relatively, compared to how long it took me to do it and how long it's taken others to do it. So if you haven't gotten started, do it now, but you're really going to be playing catch up, and there's not a lot of time left. That's all I have to say.